Keep believing in yourself, and wonderful things are sure to happen.
When I tell Grimsby about this place, he's never gonna believe me.
The number of friendly residents in this valley is...
Sure is a pretty night.
Remember, even mirror.
Sure is a pretty night.
Evening, y'all.
Don't forget, I'm here to help.
Oh, wait till I tell Slink about this place. He's not gonna believe me.
I do hope I can grow witch hazel and wormswort here.
Seems like this valley brings lots of good folks together. Amazing! Ah!
Hi there, pal. Oh!
The night is young and I'm just getting started.
Late.
Sweet dreams.
The dead of night is always so relaxing.
Oh, all right. Swell. Ah. Mhm.
These fools have no idea what magic could be controlled here.
Hmm. So long. Ah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, the valley is coming along nicely. Yes. Ta-ta! Yoo-hoo! Hello. Yes. Huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, yeah. Ah. Are you sure you're strong enough to handle yourself out here? What a day.
Amazing. Ah! Oh, you're just the sweetest.
Hi there, pal. Uh-huh. It works for me. Yup. How's it going? Uh-huh. So long. How's it going? Yay! Oh. See you later.
What a pleasure. Ta-ta! Good. Now you'll always know to listen to Mother.
Yay! Oh. Of course. Mhm. Huh. Ah. Mm-hmm. Swell. Mhm. All right.
have yourself a great night.
Everyone here has been wonderful.
Everyone here is so kind. It takes a little getting used to.
Distract my students. Ms. Jillian stepped closer and passed through the nearest desk. Sam swore under his breath, and the expression on her face became one of disapproval. That was unnecessary, Ms. Jillian stated, her voice cold. These are little girls. I'm sorry, Sam mumbled. Listen, we'll leave right now, okay? Wait, what? Marco asked. He looked from Sam to Ms. Jillian. No, we're not leaving. What the hell are you doing here? Those kids look real. I mean, like, they were real. What kind of sicko are you? I'm not a sicko, as you say. She smiled, putting her hands behind her back. I'm a teacher. These girls need me. I need them. They're brought here for the finest education. That is what I provide. And they give me a sense of purpose. Do you understand? Marco shook his head, and Sam took a nervous step back. Of course you don't, she sighed. So few of the living ever do. Sam turned and ran. Marco shrieked a moment later, the sound chasing Sam as he sprinted for the door. He saw the outline of the janitor, and then something struck Sam in the back. With a cry of pain and fear, Sam lost his balance, tumbled, crashed to the floor, and rolled forward far enough to strike the janitor in the legs. The lifelike dummy dropped onto him, knocking the wind out of Sam. Gasping for breath, he tried to disentangle himself from the strange dummy, but by the time he did so, the
Howdy!
dead woman was there. She stood over him and smiled down at him. Running is never a good idea. Your friend tried to run. Look at him now. The ghost pointed,
Whoa.
and Sam followed the line of her finger.
See you later.
As he did so. Then, in the moonlight, he saw Marco. His friend's head was twisted around the wrong way, facing backward and staring at Sam. Running only gets you hurt, she continued. Ms. Jillian smiled. Terribly so, just like this. Sam tried to scream, but his cry faded as she placed bitterly cold hands on either side
My
of his
neighbors
face
are
and pressed
fabulous.
into his cheeks. Shh, she whispered. Students are trying to study. Sam saw her smile as she snapped his neck. Chapter 23. Dennis, Clint, and Joe. You're a little rougher than I thought, Joe observed. Shane glanced over at her, shrugged, and replied, I do what's necessary. There's what's necessary, she said, and enjoying it. You're enjoying this. Shane didn't respond. Instead, he checked the zip ties on his two prisoners. He'd found the ties in the truck. Who the hell are you talking to? Dennis asked, looking around. The dead woman, Shane replied. Sitting down beside Joe's body, Shane looked at the two men. Clint's face was swollen, and the man breathed hard in the crypt. Dennis sat a few feet away, his eyes never leaving Shane. So, Shane began, lighting a cigarette. Tell me who your friend is, and why he's so stupid. My name's Clint, the other man hissed, and I'm going to kill you. Well, Clint, Shane smiled. My name's Shane, and you can get in line. Lots of people want to kill me. Lots of the dead, too. He can't see me, Joe stated. Shane nodded. Dennis, what did I tell you about speaking to your little buddies about me? Dennis remained silent. I said I'd kill you, didn't I? Shane asked. I mean, I probably phrased it differently, but that would have been the gist of it, right? Shut up, Dennis mumbled. Stop talking and just get it over with. Nah, Shane shook his head. We're here, and I've got more questions for you two. I ain't saying nothing, Clint grumbled. You guys have a serious issue with double negatives. Shane sighed. Anyway, listen, you're going to tell me what I want to know. Clint raised his head. What are you going to do, torture us? Yeah, probably, Shane nodded. Kinda what it boils down to. How do you know we'd be telling the truth? Clint grinned, wincing as he did so. That's a good question, Shane smiled. Honest answer, I won't know. Not until I get out there to dig around. Thing is, I'm not going to kill you. Not yet, anyway. Clint laughed. You can't keep us here. We'll yell until someone lets us out, and our brothers will come looking for us. Won't take much for them to find us either. Maybe not, Shane nodded. Maybe you guys all have apps on your phones and monitors on your vehicles. Do you guys do check-ins? I don't know. I don't care. Because what's going to happen is this. I'm going to keep you prisoner here, and I'll dig around and see if you're telling the truth. Dennis looked at Joe's corpse. You're going to keep us in here? Shane glanced over at the body. Sure, why not? Joe's dead, and she doesn't care if you're in here with her. Trust me. Joe, Clint asked, laughing. Is that what you call the skeleton? It's her name, Shane told him. How do you know? Clint grinned. Did she tell you? Shane nodded. Took a while. What'd you do? Dennis asked, smiling. Pull her out of one of the graves and chat with her? I caught her in here, Shane told them. And then I killed her. The smiles faded from the faces of the two men. Shane answered their unasked question. I was about 16 when I killed her, he continued. I've been killing people ever since. Believe me when I tell you that I'm going to torture you for information, and then, whether you've told me the truth or lied, I'm going to kill you, either slow or fast. How you go depends on what you tell me. You can't kill us, Clint snarled. You wouldn't. You don't know me, Shane said. I can, and I will kill you. You'll be caught, Dennis whispered. You'll go to prison. Shane shrugged and drew his knife. Always a chance. Not one I'm worried about. Now, Dennis, I want to know, how big is the New Hampshire chapter of Blood and Silver? Dennis shook his head and pressed his lips together. Clint? Shane asked. Clint swore. Excellent. Shane smiled and drove the knife into Clint's left calf. The man stiffened and bit down on his lower lip. Shane hummed as he twisted the knife. 60 or so patched members, Clint gasped, and Shane withdrew the knife. See, that wasn't too hard, Shane said. We'll get a bandage on that soon enough. Now, years ago, the club used to move girls for someone local. Word is you've spread out across the country. Hell, I even read you have chapters in Mexico and Canada. Pretty good. So, I want to know, how often do you get a shipment delivered from the Midwest? Neither Dennis nor Clint answered. Shane let out an exaggerated sigh. Come on, guys, don't be like that. He looked from one man to the other, shook his head, and leaned forward. I don't like silence, he told them. Not when I want an answer. Still, the men said nothing. Shane shrugged, reached out, and dug his thumb into Clint's fresh knife wound. The man shrieked, and Shane pushed harder before withdrawing his thumb. He wiped the blood off it, and noticed Joe grinning at him. In the dim candlelight of the crypt, Clint's pale face shined with sweat. Dennis tried to edge away, and Shane fixed him in place with a stare. You don't move unless I tell you to. Shane kept his voice low and firm. Is that understood? Dennis nodded, and Shane returned his attention to Clint. Are you expecting a shipment from the Midwest? Yeah, Clint whispered. When? The next day or so, Clint answered. We're waiting on a call. Then we'll meet them and take the handoff. Where? Shane asked. Clint hesitated, and Shane turned and punched Dennis in the face, shattering the man's nose and knocking him out. Clint stared at him. In a minute, Shane said. I'm going to gut him. When I'm done, I'm going to kill you and make it look like a suicide. Murder-suicide, in fact. No note or anything. Everyone can speculate on what went down between you two. Point is, Clint, I'm done messing around. Tell me where you're picking up the kid. Tell me where and how. Clint's eyes flickered to Dennis's twitching frame and then back to Shane. You know the DMV over off of exit 6? The man asked. Shane nodded. There. Probably in the next day or two, depending on how traffic is moving, Clint told him. Is she being delivered alive or dead? Shane asked. Alive, Clint whispered. The buyer wants them alive now. Makes it a pain to move them, but they're paying more. Used to take them dead, or at least brain dead. Shane rested his back against one of the sarcophagi, took out his cigarettes, and lit one. He looked at Clint, then over to Dennis, who groaned as the man rolled onto his side. How are they bringing her in? Clint hesitated, then muttered. Should be an RV. Arizona plates. Probably have club stickers on the back. All I know is that there should be 2 people, man and a woman. And they'll be waiting on someone from the club? Shane asked. Clint swallowed and nodded. Who? Shane tapped the head off his cigarette. Clint didn't say anything. Shane picked up his knife and pointed it at the man's left foot. In a minute, I'm going to take your boots off and start trimming your toes back. Who? Me and my brother, Clint spat. Earth brother or patched? Both, Clint grumbled. Shane looked hard at him, then let out a laugh. Oh, you're one of the guys who was on the porch. Clint's eyes widened in surprise. Yeah. Shane nodded, chuckling. That's right. I saw you the other night when I was checking on the clubhouse. Damn, I was wondering why you looked familiar. Clint licked his lips nervously. Oh yeah, I was watching. Shane smiled. Had to do some recon, you know. I mean, hell, what if I have to go up to that clubhouse of yours and get in? Preparation takes time, but it makes an operation move smoothly. Anyway, so you and your brother are supposed to pick up the girl. Yeah, you know they'll find us, right? Who? Your brothers? Shane asked. They will, Dennis mumbled, sitting up. Blood dripped steadily from his swelling nose. I know they will, Shane agreed. The men stared at him. I have no doubt they will, Shane continued. He picked up their phones and opened both of them, popping out the SD cards and pocketing them. Thing is, they won't find you alive. Clint shook his head. You can't kill us. I can, Shane told him. I can and I will. I'm going to the DMV. Once I'm there, I'll keep an eye out for the RV free and for your brother and whoever else they send along with him. My brother will come looking for me, Clint snapped. Sure, Shane nodded. Thing is, he won't find you until I dump your bodies somewhere. As of right now, your phones are worthless. If the cops try to find you, your last pings will come from the nearby tower, along with the other 100,000 residents of Nashua, and everyone else passing through Broad and Amherst streets to do their shopping. And your truck, man, that'll disappear as soon as I leave here. I'm pretty sure you both know how easy it is to get rid of a vehicle, especially when it's an older model. Joe laughed, and the temperature in the crypt dipped. Oh, they're afraid of you. Shane nodded. He could see it on the men, and in the close confines of the crypt, he could smell their fear. A sickly sweet odor that stung his nose. As of right now, Shane continued, you're both dead. I'm going to leave the crypt, lock the door behind me, and leave you here. We'll get out, Clint snarled. We'll get away. Shane shook his head. No, you won't. You won't be here, Dennis barked. You already said you won't kill us. Not yet. You're right, on both accounts. But before I patch up Clint's calf there, I want you to understand one thing, Shane said, his voice cold. I won't leave you two alone. Shane nodded to Joe, and the dead woman made herself visible. Dennis saw her first, and his eyes rolled up to reveal their whites as he fainted. Clint looked at her and stiffened.
Oh, this
His
is
eyes
frustrating.
flicked from the ghost to the bones, and then to Shane as she faded away. That's Joe. Shane nodded to her, stubbing out his cigarette. He field-stripped it and put the remnants into his pocket. She's not a fan of people. She's definitely not a fan of men. It's been a long, long time since she killed anyone, and while she may not be able to put you down, she can cause you a lot of pain, enough to stop you from leaving her home. Understand? Clint stared at the corpse on the floor. Hey, do you understand? Shane asked. Clint nodded. Good. Shane took hold of Joe's shirt, stripped off a length, and used it to bind Clint's wounded calf. What about infection? The big man asked. Shane smiled. You don't have to worry about any infections. You won't be around long enough for one to set in. Chapter 24. Recruiting new students. Ronald poured a fresh cup of tea and carried it to his dining table. You still there? Big Mike asked. Where else would I be? Ronald responded. The man grunted on the other end. I ain't too happy about this conference call crap. Can't you take it off speakerphone? Ronald sat and glanced at the phone. Of course I could, but I'm not going to. My line is quite secure, and if you're as skilled as you claim, then your line is secure as well. Big Mike swore, but didn't argue the point anymore. Now, Ronald continued, if you're quite done, I'd like to discuss the recruitment of some new students. Huh. Well, you haven't even received the last student yet, have you? No, Ronald confirmed. However, I'd like to get to step up the recruitment operation for new students for my employer's school. There are still several classes that need to be filled. Big Mike cleared his throat on the other end. How many are we talking about? Ronald sipped his tea, lifted his notepad, and scanned the names. At this time, there are roughly 15 we're interested in. 15? The astonishment in the man's voice was unmistakable. Yes. Is that too large of a number? Big Mike laughed. Listen, buddy, we move a couple of, students at a time, especially when they're Caucasian. Pretty blondes, too. Don't know if you've noticed, but the news media really locks on to those stories. Pulls at the heartstrings, all the good stuff that sells. One or two disappearing, that's rough. 15? Hell, that sounds damn near impossible. We've never had an order like this from you and your school before. No, you haven't. Ronald drank his tea before continuing. What I want to know, Big Mike, is if you can do this. My chapter can't. still trying to avoid the heat on the last one. Ronald chuckled. No, I didn't think you'd be able to do it all in your area of operations. Far from it. I should have phrased my question better. Can your club do this? Will they be able to? The man on the other end was silent for a moment before he answered. I'm not sure. I'd need to go to the head of the club and talk to him. He'd need to talk to the heads of the chapters, especially the ones you'd want your students from. If they all agreed, and that's a big if, then there'd be all sorts of logistics to work out. And the price, too, of course. I don't think you'd get a discount. It's not like we'd be snatching just anybody off the street. I should certainly hope you wouldn't be snatching just anyone, Ronald scoffed. Will you bring my needs to your club president? Sure, Big Mike agreed. I can't promise anything. And I would doubt you if you did. Big Mike laughed. Yeah, you'd be smart to do so. Hey, you should be hearing from the New Hampshire chapter in the next day or two. I think my delivery team should be there soon. The student will be in good shape? Ronald asked. She better be, Big Mike snarled. They know how much is riding on this, especially the one running the show. She's not an idiot. Ronald frowned. Who is escorting the student? The wife of a pageant member and a prospect. Before you get all worked up about the prospect, you gotta understand, we need a patsy if this goes south for some reason, Big Mike said. Ronald pinched the bridge of his nose. The last thing I want is for this to go south. We are in short supply of new students. The connectivity of this new generation makes obtaining our students difficult. You ain't kidding, Big Mike sighed. Takes a hell of a lot more work, especially when there's a special order like yours. You sure you don't want to branch out? Add a little, what do they call it now? Diversity to your student population? Ronald laughed. No. Besides, I'm not the one calling the shots here, Big Mike. I answer to my employer. It is my employer who dictates who will be our students. I'm merely here to help the vision of the school become a reality. If you say so, Big Mike replied. Anyway, I'm going to call my crew to see where they are. If there's something wrong, I'll call you and let you know. Well, as they say, no news is good news. Yep. Without any goodbyes, Ronald ended the call and sat there for a moment longer. He looked at the phone and then sighed. Finally, he stood and went about his preparations for the day. Chapter 25. Bad Decisions. They were pulled off at a small rest stop somewhere close to the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border. Wanda stood outside the RV, talking on her phone. Jared was alone in the RV, only a few feet away from the girl's room, inches away from being able to free her. He stood, clenching and relaxing his fists, staring at the closed door. From beyond the thin pressboard that served as the door, he heard the child wheezing. He could smell human waste and filth. The child lay in it, unconscious. Part of him wondered if there was permanent damage to her brain, if the drugs had wreaked havoc in her, and if he rescued her, would she even know it? Would she ever be able to think again? Jared drew a shuddering breath. He turned and crept up to the exit, peering out the window. Wanda stood 20 feet away, phone still up to her ear, cigarette in her free hand. Her back was to the Winnebago. Jared took a step back, and his eyes went up to the driver's seat. From where he stood, he could see the keys hanging from the ignition. He could lock the doors and sit down, start the engine, and find the nearest police station or phone. He could call it in to his handlers, and they could send someone trustworthy out to him. He wouldn't have to worry about dirty cops making sure the girl didn't make it. Jared nodded to himself, cracked his knuckles, and looked out the window again. Wanda was still on the phone. He turned away, and a coughing sound caught his attention. It was a noise he hadn't heard before. It came from the girl's room, her mobile prison cell. Licking his lips as fear grew within him, Jared moved toward the thin door. His hands trembled as the girl coughed again. Is she waking up? The thought filled him with a combination of fear and excitement. Reaching out, he took hold of the small doorknob, turned it, and found it locked. He twisted harder, and he felt the lock go. As it did, something bit him in the lower back. He stiffened, his vision darkened, and pain ripped through him. Jared felt the world spin and fall away. Wanda grabbed Peanut by the back of his shirt and dragged him out of the Winnebago, swearing as she did. She crossed the short distance to the woods, looking from left to right. She pulled the limp man into the tree line, and when they were still close to the RV, but far enough not to be seen from the road, Wanda disconnected the taser's prongs. She put the weapon aside and searched until she found Peanut's folding knife tucked in his back pocket. His breathing was shallow, his skin pale. "Idiot," she muttered, and cut his clothes off him. By the time she finished, he was moaning, body stiff and eyelids fluttering. "Wanda?" His voice was hoarse, eyes moving slowly around. "You're a dummy," she told him. "Now I gotta do this alone." "No, I was just worried about her." She shook her head. "I ain't stupid. Word came in. I know what you are." His eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Wanda drove the knife into his chest, again and again and again. When she finished, there were 14 holes in the dying cop, and it made her feel better. He coughed. Frothing blood coated his lips and chin. "You had to be a cop, huh?" she snapped, stabbing him in the groin and causing him to moan. "You couldn't just be a punk prospect? You know how much extra work I have to do now? Do you?" She waited to see if he would answer, but then she saw he couldn't. Peanut was dead. "Useless," she grumbled. "Absolutely useless." She took out her phone and called Big Mike. "What's up?" he asked. "Peanut's dead." "What? What the hell happened?" "Got a call," she said. "From who?" "Vaco." Big Mike was silent for a moment. "How the hell did he swing that?" "I didn't ask," she answered. "Thing is, he did it because of some information he got about Peanut." "What about him?" "He was undercover." Big Mike swore, loud enough to make her move the phone away. "How did he find that out?" "Remember Andy Wirtz?" she asked. "Tony Bones' brother? Yeah, I remember him," Big Mike said. "What about him?" "He sent a message to Vaco inside. Said he remembered how the club took care of Tony when he died. Said he wanted to do the same for the club. Told Vaco there was a guy getting in." "We thought that was a member," Big Mike muttered. "So did I," Wanda said. "Turns out it was Peanut." "How did Wirtz know?" "Said he was one of his handlers," she replied. "Ah, hell," Big Mike groaned. "Vaco said all this over a prison line?" Wanda laughed. "No, you think he's that stupid? That bull he's running, Vaco used that guy's phone. Locked him up a little more on this one." "What?" Big Mike laughed. "Oh, that's beautiful. He must have that bully hooked through the nose." "Yeah, he does." "So, what are you gonna do about the body?"
Ooh,
My.
today could be a
You
perfect
just don't know when
day.
to quit, do you?
I think there's a chapter that'll do it for us. She glanced at the body. "No, I've got bleach in the Winnebago. I'll drag his body in a little more, wash him down with bleach, and then burn his clothes. I won't leave any prints, nothing they can use." "All right," Big Mike said. "Make sure you remember where the body is, though. We may need to go back for it at some point." "Sure. I gotta go dope up the kid and make sure I clean up this mess." "Listen, we'll take care of you when you get back," Big Mike told her. "You always get it done, Wanda." "Course I do," she snorted. "I ain't no punk." She ended the call and put the phone away. Wanda looked down at Peanut's body and shook her head in disgust. Without another word, she turned around and returned to the Winnebago. There was a lot to do before she could get on the road again. Chapter 26. Advanced Warning. Shane sat in the Denny's at the Nashua Mall and finished the last of his breakfast. From his seat, he could look out over the highway and to the DMV on the other side. He'd been watching it for the hour he'd been eating. There was one way into the DMV's parking lot and a back road that led down to the river. There was the typical traffic flow around the place and into it, and Shane wondered if the RV was supposed to arrive during the daytime working hours or if it was supposed to show up later. He knew there would be cops there and plenty of people, which made it a perfect place for a handoff, especially with the RV. No one would suspect anything. If the girl was alive, he doubted she would make it more than 20 or 30 minutes outside of the DMV. It would be too dangerous at that point for the club to transport her alive. They could put a body in just about anything, even a trailer hooked up to a bike. Movement in the DMV backlot caught his eye, and Shane focused on it. He saw a child standing alone, back to the highway and looking down into the river. Shane could see through the child. Standing up, Shane left a tip, carried the check to the register, and paid for his meal. In a few minutes, he was at the back lot of the DMV and getting out of his car. The dead child still stood by the river. Shane approached him carefully, keeping well off to the ghost's left. The ghost, he saw, was a boy and no older than 12 or 13. The dead boy's clothes were wet, his hair clinging to his head. Spotting a large stone, Shane sat down on it, picked up a handful of loose pebbles, and tossed one into the river. The dead boy glanced at him, then looked away. "Is this where they took your body out?" Shane asked the question in a low voice. The dead boy jerked around and stared, wide-eyed at him. "You can see me?" the ghost asked. "Yeah," Shane chuckled, nodding. "I can see you, kid. My name's Shane." "You're alive?" "Yep." The dead boy hesitated, then introduced himself. "I'm Ollie." "Nice to meet you, Ollie." The dead boy sat down and looked at Shane. "You're the only grown-up who's ever seen me." "I'm not surprised. Most grown-ups have a hard time admitting there are ghosts." "My mom did. So did my dad." Ollie sighed. He looked at the water again. "They used to come down here, and they would leave candy for me. I couldn't eat it." "When did you die?" Ollie scratched the back of his head. I think it was 96. I'm not sure. Time's a little weird, you know." Shane nodded. "I drowned," Ollie continued, gesturing to his wet clothes. "In case you couldn't figure that one. I tried to skid on the boat ramp, but my bike went into the water, and when I went in after it, the water took me. My body got caught up here on a tree." "Do you want to be here?" Shane asked. Ollie looked at him with surprise, then he smiled. "Yeah. See, my parents don't come anymore. I think they died, or else it's too much, something like that. But I like it here. I get to see the water all the time. I liked the water. I like watching the people drive by, too. It's nice. I'm kind of afraid, too." "About what'll happen if you leave this place?" Ollie nodded. "Fair enough. I'd be nervous, too." They were silent for a few minutes. "Ollie," Shane said, "do you think I could ask you a favor?" The dead boy's eyes narrowed. "What sort of favor?" "Do you know what